You guys remember about 4 or 5 months ago when I made this big deal about adding my 5th bookshelf? What do you know, I'm almost out of space again, but let's talk about what books I bought this month. Hey, what's up, bookworms and shopaholics? Mike back to talk a little book haul, this time for the month of October. Yes, I know it's a little bit late, but like I said, I like to do these a little later, not just flood you guys with like month recaps at the beginning of it. But let's go ahead and get into it like I always do with books that count. And by that, I mean by that is digital books do count, guys. I don't know why I get pushback on that, but yes, Kindle purchases counts, Kobo, whatever digital device you're using, digital books count. And I got a couple I want to talk about here, and I might butcher this name, so forgive me here. I got the Metro trilogy. This is by Dmitry Glukovsky. Am I saying that right? I was curious about this because I heard a lot of people talking about it, and it was kind of like The Witcher, wherein that I did not know at first that the games were based off the books, not the other way around. I thought it was the thing where the books came due to the success of the video games. I only played the first game just a little bit, and that's not what we're here to talk about. I'll talk about that another time. But I've heard enough things about the series that I'm interested in checking them out. I love a good zombie dystopian post-apocalyptic kind of future thing, and that sounds very, very cool. I don't even know if it's really necessarily zombies. I'm not sure really what the series is about at all. It just comes highly recommended. Saw a good deal for it and said, why not? Let's go ahead and pick that up. Next up is Dawn Shard by Brandon Sanderson. It came out yesterday for the Kindle. I think it was actually given early to the people who bought like the $500 edition of Way of Kings. Guys, I love books, but I don't love them that much. But anyhow, yeah, I had to wait a week to get it. But here's the thing. I'm not rushing to read this before Rhythm of War comes out. I just didn't really plan to. Same thing happened with Edge Dancer. I read it after Oathbringer. I don't feel like it changed a ton. The main character in Dawn Shard isn't a character I'm just like anxious to read about. But yes, I read everything Cosmere related that Sanderson puts out. So I will read it. It'll just be later. Then we got I haven't finished the Witcher series yet, but I saw a great deal on Tower of Fools by Andrei Sakowski, and I don't know anything about this. I know it is the first in a new series for him, but I said, hey, that is an excellent deal. I'll go ahead and pick that up because eventually I'll get back to The Witcher, and I like the guy's writing style enough that I'll be interested to see what he does outside of Geralt of Rivia. So we shall see. And then lastly, I haven't read a single book in the Saxon Stories by Bernard Cornwell. But I just bought my 13th book, and that is the 13th and final book in that series. That's Warlord. This is just based off of my love for the adaptation on Netflix known as The Last Kingdom. Fantastic show if you guys aren't watching it. And I've heard nothing but brilliant things about this author, so I know someday it will happen. It's just right now I'm apprehensive after doing all of Wheel of Time, doing all of the Cosmere, doing all of Dresden Files this year, where I'm just like, I need to take a break on these long series, especially with Malazan starting here in about a month and a half. So it'll happen. Don't know when. But yes, I am very interested to read about Uhtred, son of Uhtred, because yeah, it's an awesome character. It's an awesome show, and I'm sure the books are every bit, if not more awesome than that series. But let's go ahead and get into some of the physical purchases now, guys. Now, during Fright Fest, I talked about Clive Barker a couple of times and my desire to read more of his stuff, and how surprised I was by the book that I read during October was not actually horror. So I wanted to make sure I got a good Clive Barker horror story, because I always was under the assumption that the guy was just horror. You know, I think that's the misconception a lot of people get about King. I feel like they have that about Clive Barker as well. So I made sure I went and got one of his scary stories. This is Damnation Game. This is one that gets highly recommended in that video where I talked about wanting some more stuff by him that was actually horrific. And Cabal, Damnation Game, Books of Blood were like the highest recommendations. But this was the one I was able to find on hardcover for a good price. So that was the one that I went ahead and picked up. I don't know anything about it, guys, but I do know that I liked his writing style enough that I can't wait to see what he can do with something that's really, really scary. I talked about Dresden Files a minute ago. You guys know I read that whole series, and a lot of people are like, oh, are you going to read Codex Alera now? I'm like, well, not right now, but yes, someday. Yes, Jim Butcher is on my list of authors that I will now consider automatic. That's why I went ahead and picked up book 1 of the Cinder Spires. What's this called? The Aeronauts Windlass. Again, another series I don't know anything about. I just trust the author at this point. So I'm not interested in starting another incomplete series by the man. Especially since I've heard he wrote 1 book of this and then he didn't do anything else for. I don't even know how old this is. I don't know the stories behind that. I was on the Dresden cast, the Dresden Files podcast, and they were talking about that. And they were both like all recommending that. And I was like, wait a second. So Codex Alera is complete, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I'm going to read that. I'm going to read the complete one before I start another one. But I don't see myself not reading that because, again, Jim Butcher, automatic. I talked about some palate cleansers I'd like to do by reading some standalones between some of the epic fantasy stories that I plan to read next year. And on that list was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is one actually I put up to a viewer poll about some authors that you'd like to see me give a try and talk about on the channel. Blake Crouch kind of ran away with it. I was rather surprised by that. A lot of people know I'm a big Michael Crichton fan, and a lot have said he's kind of a modern day Michael Crichton. So that's that's setting the bar really high. I'm not going to hold that against him if I don't feel like that's true, but I do know that he is a big Michael Crichton fan. So another one. I have this and Recursion, but this one I think is the one I'm going to choose to do for sometime middle of next year in between Realm of the Elderlings and Malazan. But let's get into some other things I got this month that actually I was kind of blown away about. Something happened this month, guys, that I did not expect. And I did that live stream where I talked for like 3 hours, and there was a lot of people who had no idea that I have an Amazon wish list, that I have a Patreon, things like that. Again, that's things I don't push because I'm not that guy. But people want to send you stuff. It's one of those things like, hey, that's amazing. If you want to do that, that's great. I appreciate it. I never expected to what happened this month, though. Lots of people sent me stuff. So I want to make sure that I give them a shout out on the channel. First, I got a book from Dustin. I don't want to use last names because I don't want them, having their stuff out there. But he sent me the first book in Larry Correa's Monster Hunter series. A lot of the comments in my Dresden Files video mentioned this and Iron Druid as like the closest kind of comparison. This is the first book. I think there's 7 or 8 of them. I believe it's still going. I'm not sure. Or he's writing a spin-off series set in the same world or something like that. Don't know very much about it, but thank you, Dustin. That's very awesome. It's definitely one that I'm interested in, especially if I'll be looking for that palate cleanser kind of series going forward. This one is from Chris. He is the guy who actually made a lot of the 3D printed stuff you see on my shelves back there. Continues to be just way too kind to me. He sent me the first volume of Otherland by Tad Williams. I still haven't read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but his note actually told me, here's something for your 2022 TBR. So I do appreciate it, Chris. You continue to be way too kind, but I do appreciate it. And I know that Tad Williams is going to be an author that I love. It's kind of one of those things, like I said, with John Gwynn, when I had 7 of his books, I never read one. Some authors you just know that you're going to like. I'm pretty sure I'm going to like Tad Williams' stuff quite a bit. This is kind of a big one here from Michael. This is a trilogy of books that he sent me by Brian Staley. This is the Chronicle of the Unhewn Throne. He got me all 3 of these books. Michael, thank you so much, man. This is awesome. This is a series I've heard not a ton about, but everyone I know that has read it has just incredibly great things to say about it. And the cover art is just slick. Love it, man. It's so good. This stuff out. Yeah, so again, if you guys know anything about this series, please drop in the comments, let me know about it. But Michael, that's awesome, man. I truly do appreciate that. Next up, we have from Hillary. Hillary sent me Recursion by Blake Crouch, and now she sent me something that she knows that you guys probably know I'm very interested to read. If you watched my my science fiction stories that I would like to get to eventually. Number 2 on that list, behind only Dan Simmons' Hyperion Cantos, was the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy by a name I'm going to butcher. I believe it's Shishin Liu. This is Death's End, The Dark Forest, and The Three-Body Problem. A lot of people say this is like one of the best science fiction books they've ever read. Guys, this is incredible. Thank you so much, Hillary. You are awesome. It doesn't matter that you sent them to me in an underwear box. My wife wasn't suspicious at all. But anyway, there's more of a story to that than it sounds like, but it's hilarious, really. But wait, there's more. Before I go on, I do want to say it's not a book, but I did get this mug from Madison. She's one of the mods on my Discord. By the way, join the Discord, guys. The link is in the description. And she knows what a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan I am. If you don't know, this was Giles' mug that he had in his apartment in season 4 of the show. He's actually feeding Spike blood through it. But that's probably the most famous scene. But I think it does show up a few more other places. But thank you, Madison. I'm never, ever not in need of a new coffee mug or anything Buffy the Vampire Slayer related. Let's keep moving along here. These are more gifts, guys. Again, I'm blown away by what happened this month. This is from my dude Lockie. Speaking of the Discord, I miss you on the Discord, my friend. You know what First Law fan I am, guys. And while I won't ever buy a second copy of a book, I'll definitely accept one. And he bought me the anniversary edition of the First Law trilogy, Last Argument of Kings, For They Are Hanged, Blade Itself. So cool. So cool to see these like redone and given some care. Really cool. I have the same set for the Gentleman Bastards books, but you guys know how much I love First Law and Lockie. This is super awesome, my man. I appreciate it so much. Fits right next to my first edition book club editions that I have of the trilogy there. Another one that I say I would never ever buy a second copy of a book, but I've been tempted by this for a while, guys. You guys know what Dune means to me, right? And I get jealous. I mean, I love that version I've got right there. But, yeah, I'm always jealous when I see people pop out that deluxe edition, you know, with the blue edges and the amazing cover art. Oh, my God. I cannot believe this. Mitchell, thank you so much, dude. This is excellent. This is such a beautiful edition. You guys probably noticed it popped up on the shelf there a couple of videos ago. It's one of those things where I was like, I have to find a way to display that because this is, it doesn't do it justice until you actually see it, guys. How amazing the art is in this book. How incredible everything looks. I love that the edges look like the Fremen eye color. It's just so much care was put into this edition of the book. And I'll never get rid of either of them. Thank you so much. This means the world. I cannot wait to reread it for my 13th time using this edition right here. So Mitchell, I really do appreciate it. And then I got one big one here, guys. And I say a big one because it's one thing that I like even more than any of this stuff except Dune is Stephen King, right? You guys obviously know I'm a big Stephen King guy. And Somatra, one of my patrons, actually sent me a congratulations on my 25,000 subs. And he sent me the entire graphic novel collection of Dark Tower Beginnings. I'm speechless. This is incredible. The art on this, I think, is by Jim Lee. I can't think of his name right now. But obviously, the art is there. The books or the story is already incredible because it's Cy King, right? But this covers a lot of the stuff of Roland when he was younger. Like I said, the art is just absolutely brilliant, and just Sumatra, you are a madman. I love you, man. Thank you so much. This is so cool. This is one of those things I've had on my wish list for a while that I could never quite pull the trigger on because I could never find it ever go on sale or anything like that. But this is just, I've told you guys a lot about how much I love Dark Tower. I may rail on those last couple of books, but guys, those first 5 books are as good as any fantasy series you've ever read, and I can't say enough about that or say thank you enough to Sumatra for this because this is just too cool. You guys are spoiling the hell out of me. My wife is rolling my eyes every day when a new book shows up, and I'm like, I didn't buy anything, I swear. So I'm glad that it has thank you. It has notes for me to thank you guys in, so I can prove to her that I'm not ordering these things. But you guys are a blessing. I thank you so much. You are the best, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again on a live stream because you guys are why I do this. And so I want to talk to you in the comments, guys. What did you get in the month of October? Drop down below and let me know, and I'll talk to you there.